الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدرسول الله أشهد أن محمدرسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا من أرسله الله تعالى رحمة للعالمين صلاة والسلام عليك وعلى آلك وأصحابك أجمعين الصلاة والسلام عليكم يا أنبياء الله اللهم رب هذه الدعوة النافعة والصلاة القائمة وأعطي محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعث يا ربي مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
فاتحة. الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد سيدنا ونبينا مدد يا سيدنا سادات أصحابه مدد وشاف الدستور ولا شاء الله فاز داس محمد الرحمن طريقتنا الصحبة والخير في الجمعية الله عز وجل وأذن في الناس أذان وخذ.
Almighty says and commands, recite the Adhan. And this was Allah Almighty's command to Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him. After the construction of the Kaaba, Prophet Abraham was instructed by Allah Almighty to recite the Adhan. And whoever heard that Adhan certainly has performed his pilgrimage and has made Hajj, or he's going to make Hajj. Whoever has heard that Adhan has been destined to perform Hajj.
Ezan Allah Azze ve Celle'nin iman eden insanlara verdiği büyük bir nimettir ki
the Adhan is a great blessing given to those who believe.
Günde 5 defa
the Adhan is to be recited 5 times a day.
Okunuyor. Günde 5 defa Allah Azze ve Celle huzuruna çağırıyor insanları.
5 times a day Allah Almighty invites people into His divine presence.
Onun için o ezanlar çok mühimdir.
Therefore the Adhan is recited to invite people to the divine presence. The Adhan is important.
İnsanlar bilmiyor kıymetini.
However, people do not appreciate the value of the Adhan.
Allah'a şükür Müslüman yerlerde olan insanlar 5 vakit duyuyor onu.
Thanks to Allah Almighty, those who live in Muslim countries hear the Adhan 5 times a day.
5 vakit Allah Azze ve Celle hatırlar ya hatırlamaz, o mühim değil.
Whether they remember Allah Almighty or not, they hear the Adhan nevertheless as it is recited 5 times a day.
Olan o güzel ezanı duyup onun bereketi oluyor insanlara.
And just the mere sheer fact of hearing the Adhan, to hear the beautiful Adhan 5 times a day, is the resource of blessings and goodness.
Bereketi var. İster kılsın, ister kılmasın, ister bilsin, bilmesin.
There's barakah, there are blessings in just hearing the Adhan, regardless of that person attending the prayer or not.
Büyük bir nimettir. Çünkü o
The Adhan in itself is a great blessing.
Cibril aleyhisselam semalarda o okur ezanı.
And it is Archangel Gabriel who recites the Adhan in the heavens.
O ezan Peygamber Efendimiz sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem rüyalarında görüp de aynısını sahabelerin yaptıkları güzel seslerine ezan.
The Adhan goes back to our beloved Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and it was inspired in a dream, and it has been recited and practiced during the time of our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, by his beloved companions.
5 kıyamete kadar Allah'ın izniyle sürüyor.
And the Adhan will continue 5 times a day up until the day of judgment.
O insanlar için vaktin kıymetini, yaşadıkları zamanın kıymetini,
The Adhan teaches people the importance and the value of the time they live in.
gösteriyor. Seneler önce gayrimüslim bir memlekete gittik.
Many years ago, when we went to a non-Muslim country,
Tabii ilk hep Müslüman ülkelerde olduğumuz için
and that was one of our first trips to a foreign non-Muslim country. Before that, we used to travel to Muslim countries.
bir şey yoktu. Normal bir şey yapın. Bu 1980 senesinde ilk defa İngiltere, Londra'ya gittik.
But then in 1980, for the very first time, we went to a non-Muslim country, to the UK, to London.
Dışarıda ezan sesi yok.
And what we first noticed there was that Adhan was obviously not recited outside publicly.
Yani o gün nasıl olduğunu insan kıymet biliyor. Hiçbir şey yok. Bunların ne vakitler var, ne zamanları var, ne.
And then we realized the blessings and the value of the Adhan, and how through the Adhan one realizes and appreciates the value of time.
Hayatlarının kıymetleri var. Yani bu hayata kıymet veren şeyler.
And without the Adhan being recited publicly, one realized that there's no structure, there's no order in life, and there's no value. It is through the recitation of the Adhan that time becomes valuable, that life becomes valuable.
Kıymet gösteren şeydir.
It is the Adhan who reminds us and indicates the blessings and the value of life.
5 vakit Allah Azze ve Celle'ye çağırmak, Allah Azze ve Celle'nin yoluna gitmek.
Because it is the Adhan that invites us 5 times a day to the divine presence, to Allah Almighty.
İnsanları hidayete, felaha.
It is the Adhan that calls upon us to believe, that calls upon us to salvation.
Namaza, takvaya çağırmak.
It is through the Adhan that 5 times a day we are called to believe, to follow the way of Allah Almighty, and to be fearful of Allah Almighty.
O başka bir şey. Hiç işte, kıymet bulmayınca insan vakit kıymetini bilir.
And the adhan is something special that cannot be compared to anything else. And when we were back then in London, we realized the importance and the blessings of the adhan in the absence of the adhan there.
Allah Azze ve Celle müminlere, Müslümanlara her güzel şeyi vermiş.
Allah Almighty has given to the believers all kinds of beautiful things.
Başka kötülük diye bir şey yok.
And Allah Almighty has given all kinds and the most beautiful things. And there's nothing bad.
Başka insanlar da ondan haberleri yok.
But people do not appreciate the value of these favors and even more are unaware of these favors.
Bu büyük bir nimettir.
The adhan is a great favor.
Büyük bir güzelliktir.
The adhan is a immense, beautiful thing.
Eğer olmayınca bomboş oluyor.
Without the adhan, it all becomes empty.
Allah aşkına biz gayrimüslim ülkelere gittiğimiz vakit Allah'a şükür dergahlarımızda, mescitlerimizde onu duyuyoruz ama
Thanks to Allah Almighty that even though when we travel to non-Muslim countries, we still continue to hear the adhan in our dergahs, in our masjids.
Dışarıda insanlar duymadığı için
However, there's no adhan being recited there publicly, and people in general there are unaware of the blessings of the adhan.
o boşluk, büyük bir boşluk.
And with the absence of the adhan in those countries, there's a great emptiness in people.
Var. İnsanlar oradan şaşırıyorlar bu boşluk diye.
And people then wonder where that emptiness comes from.
Nasıl giderilir diye.
And they are looking for ways how to overcome that emptiness they perceived in their lives.
İşte bu Allah Azze ve Celle bize yaratan Rabbimiz Allah Azze ve Celle.
And it is through the adhan which reminds us and invites us to our Creator who created us.
Güzelliği de vermiş, herkese vermiş. Müslüm, gayrimüslim.
And it is Allah Almighty who gave these blessings to everyone, whether believers, Muslims or non-Muslims.
Ama alan alıyor, almayan kendi biliyor.
And Allah Almighty has opened and given His favors to everyone, but it is not everyone who takes from these favors. There are people who take from it and others who don't.
Sonra sıkıntıya düşüyor.
But then, without receiving and accepting, taking those favors, they fall into troubles.
Bunalıma giriyor.
And they undergo depression.
Bu ezanların faydası sonsuzdur.
There are numerous, endless merits and virtues of the adhan.
Ezan okuyan müezzin de Peygamber sallallahu aleyhi ve sellem diyor.
And also there are great blessings for the one who recites the adhan.
Sesi nereye giderse o kadar sevap alıyor.
Our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, said that the muezzin who recites the adhan will receive rewards to the extent, to the distance to which his voice is heard.
Şimdiki bu acayip sistemler çıkarmışlar. Müezzine maaşını veriyor, her şeyini veriyor. Müezzin okumayacak, makine okuyacak.
But now there's this strange system according which the muezzins, even though they get their wages, they are instructed not to recite the adhan. Instead, there is a centralized adhan being recited by machines.
Bir kişi okuyacak. Halbuki her birisi o sevaptan mahrum kalıyor.
There's this instruction that only one should recite the adhan, and that is then distributed through the machines. However, every muezzin should recite the adhan to receive the blessings of the recitation of the adhan.
Allah hidayet versin, akıl fikir versin.
May Allah Almighty guide people to the right way, and may Allah Almighty give people a mind to think and to reason.
İnsanlara ki sünneti
so that people may implement and practice the sunnah of our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him.
Inshallah.